Dad made Golden Child's kid the company's owner, so I quit and founded my own. After the nephew cheated, they appealed for help 6 months later. I quit working for my dad 6 months ago after he named my nephew Jack CEO instead of me after 12 years of growing and increasing our business. When I was 25, my realtor dad launched his own agency. I quit my job to work for him, intending to inherit the firm. I have an elder sister, but she never cared about the business, so I assumed my dad would name me his successor after he retired. I am confident that I am the best CEO candidate since I know the business, its clientele, and our dealings. However, my parents seem to have gone insane, or maybe my sister is pulling the strings. Anyway, 6 months ago, they announced that my dad would retire in 2 months and take over the business to their lovely grandson, who had just graduated from business school. I was devastated when they announced this during my dad's 62nd birthday party. Instead of throwing a tantrum, I discreetly approached my father after the party and quit when he said he was serious. A few days later, I resigned and haven't spoken to my family since. It was hard to digest. My parents were furious that I quit and attempted to encourage me to stay, but I had one condition. They had to retract their claim that Jack would be the next CEO and hire me, or I would never talk to them again. I wouldn't work for my nephew since it was humiliating. The guy is 22 and I've spent 12 years with this company. I refused to give up, even though they tried to emotionally influence me. They gave up after I wouldn't budge, long-lasting pain, yet they were helpless. Jack's good college scores made them think he would be smart like his mother and take the firm to new heights. They wanted me to mentor Jack when he took over to make the process smoother and help him learn faster while my dad rested after so many years. I wasn't having it, but I think I did the right thing. Because of their beloved grandchild, they're being sued for financial fraud. I'll spare the details, but he fudged some figures to get here. My parents arrived at my door a few days ago, pleading for aid after he ruined everything in the preceding 6 months. But I made it plain that I don't want to be with them right now. I'm already creating a business model. Starting my own business isn't a problem because I have money and my wife works. My family believes I'm callous for not helping them again. They dislike how I treated them when they arrived at my house. I'm here because they think I was too crude with them. When they arrived, I invited them in but had already decided. Before they started talking, I knew what they would say or ask. I would decline. Their weirdly kind demeanor and abrupt reappearance made me think they wanted me back. They explained the situation and asked me to save them. Hearing the circumstances made me even more certain I didn't want to work with them. I told them I was sorry for this, but they deserved it because they had made the biggest mistake of their lives by giving Jack control of the company instead of me. His hiring in such a crucial role was unwise because he was too young and inexperienced. Still, my parents refused to recognize their error and acted as if Jack was under a lot of pressure. So he used unethical measures to prove himself. Other than that, he was a fine kid with a promising future who would have used his intelligence if he hadn't felt forced. I was surprised they kept defending his behavior, saying he was a good kid and smart. I lost my patience and snapped at them, saying things I regret about them, my sister and Jack. I teased them for saying Jack was smart at first. Now they were here because of his clever decisions. Please note that they said Jack was smart like his mother because they both graduated at the top of their class. Yes, that makes them book smart. It's not like 12 years of experience. My sister's sole clever move was getting knocked up at 20 by her immensely rich boyfriend, marrying him after graduation, and living off his alimony and child support. She started her scammy astrology and tarot business with that money, but her rich dumb pals buy it, so she's doing well. Anyway, none of that was sensible, and my parents were crazy if they thought my sister was smart because she could stand on her own. As a motive to lower that, perhaps her son would be as savvy and pass over corporate control to him? The only people I could blame were my parents. Jack was an idiot because he was spoilt and a brat, as long as I knew him. Parents should have known better than to let him lead instead of me. I labeled them ungrateful since I worked hard at the firm and my sister barely cared. I spoke out against them when they arrived, saying what I've said. They listened calmly and went without saying anything. I assumed that would be it, but then my sister and family started contacting me, saying what I said was inappropriate. They told me it was all right to be furious and frustrated with my parents. But they thought I had made a lot of personal statements about them and my sister, so I had to apologize. My sister even suggests that I apologize and return to the workplace to salvage the situation, because we are still family. I'm not going back, but I feel horrible about my comments, which I made nicely in this post. I was petty and said it differently to them. Truthfully, I don't think I need to apologize to them. So AITA for mocking and disrespecting my family when they sought aid after 6 months of no contact? Update 1. Hi guys. Thank you to everyone that responded with NTA and given me suggestions on how to proceed. I won't entertain these individuals anymore, especially when my parents and sister seem to support them. I won't talk to them either. Since I'm not close to them, I'm fine with it too. The way I wrote about my parents and sister shows that I have a lot of resentment. My sister because I never got along with her, and she was a great student when she was younger. My parents always thought she was the intellectual. Before making business choices, they consult her, and then me, which is petty but used to upset me. I consoled myself by thinking the corporation would come to me, not her. That also failed, so I lost my anger with my parents that day. But I don't feel horrible about it. After replacing me with my 22-year-old nephew, they didn't deserve my kindness. I can't prove it, but my sister probably did it. It's a guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. I've chosen to stop communicating with them. Since I haven't spoken to them in 6 months, I assume it'll be easy to avoid them in the future. Doing the right thing is all that matters to me, and my wife agrees. She heard me ranting at my parents the other day and heard everything I said. She agreed that I had made a lot of comments and was quite rude. But she told me it was fine because my family had mistreated me first. Publicly handing over company management to Jack during the party, who was younger than me and had no experience, was a slap in the face, and she's glad I didn't let it go. Personally, I am too. Since they were losing business left, right, and center due to the Jack debacle, they generally asked me to help them with their clientele. I was upset when they asked me to help, yet their decision gave me an idea that I'll implement. I'll contact their clients personally because I used to handle these accounts. I have all the high-profile clientele, and I'm confident I can get them to work with me. I don't have a business plan, team, or office yet, but I'm convinced I can establish it all by myself. These guys were wonderful to me professionally and personally, so I'm sure they'll support me. It'll be nasty to try to recruit my parents' clients, but given the scenario, it's worth a shot. I'm prepared for the backlash since I know they won't let it go if they find out, but I must also look out for myself. While I'm there, I'll try to reach 2 current employees. I have all these people's contact details, so it's worth doing. Maybe word of mouth will help me launch my business faster than intended. My wife is already investing, and I'm also investing. I'm optimistic because I've talked to 2 interested friends. Update 2. Hi guys. In the 2 days after my last report, I did what I promised. I contacted former clients and 2 workers and got favorable comments from most. Several employees told me they had left my dad's company after Jack took over and they were between jobs. After I left, the workplace was chaotic and management was poor, so they didn't see the value of sticking. So glad to hear that. Not because my dad's firm suffered for passing me over for Jack, but because even the employees knew I was the finest CEO candidate. They were excited to hear from me and said they'd be ready to start work whenever I wanted, which I'm glad about. Even my former clientele when I spoke. They looked excited to hear from me and said they were ready to switch. Jack and my father's incompetence convinced them after I left. But I worried I might have to. Despite not having a business or team, I'm doing well. And this was a motivational boost. I'm done looking back. Update 3. Hello everybody. 2 weeks have passed since my last update, and my family might ultimately confront me. How they discovered out is unclear. They ultimately discovered I was recruiting former clients and workers. I've made a lot of company growth and been busy, so I didn't post this update when it happened. They came to my residence 5 days ago and screamed. I mean my whole family, not just my parents like last time. For whatever reason, Jack was present but didn't say anything. Since he looked fatigued and humiliated the whole time, I don't think he wanted to be here but did because his mother asked him. When I saw my family at the door, I considered ignoring them until they departed. While my wife and I claimed to be away, they discovered we were home since our car was in the driveway. They shouted that I was taking their clients and would be sued. I wish them luck because my contract with them didn't include a non-compete clause, so I don't know why they'd sue me. But I didn't respond since I assumed I'd let it go and they'd tire out after screaming. However, my mom started shrieking like a banshee later, and I panicked since she seemed so upset. I'm fine with furious people because it doesn't change my feelings. But when people cry, that bothers me because I feel awful for them and am easily manipulated. When I heard her sobbing outside my door so loudly, I felt awful, so I decided to confront them and then let it go. I would respond and end the conversation if they wanted it. I realized I had made a mistake when my mom grabbed me by the arm and screamed in my face as soon as I opened the door. She was crying and furious. It was unnerving, and as I was trying to absorb what was happening, she was yelling in my face about how my shenanigans were killing the family business, and how she had not expected me to do this since it was selfish and ruthless. I was astonished and had her unhand me in 2 seconds, because she seemed mad. I broke free and was furious at their behavior. I wasn't interested in engaging them further. I told them to leave my property or I'd call the police. My wife stood behind me in the doorway with her phone, so they knew we were serious. My dad told my mom to stop because she was crazy and tried to talk to me. He wasn't screaming, he just held my hands and told me that he knew he had messed up and that they were still mistreating me, but they wanted me to understand that this was out of frustration. The court was unimpressed with Jack's condition, and the company suffered. I also started stealing their clients and workers. It was obvious they were furious and acting badly. In the end, he wanted me to know we were family and reminded me that while he had worked hard on his firm, so did I. I've been there with him since the beginning. The firm belongs to me too. He was frantic and attempting to seem like he was crying since they know my weakness. I always soften when people cry because I can't handle it. I had foolishly entertained them by opening the door and confronting them. I refused to make additional mistakes, so I told my father his claims were false. The company wasn't mine. He showed me that when he made Jack CEO instead of me. The fact that he didn't value me was enough for me. I stood my ground on poaching clients and personnel, telling them it was fair game. I was doing what all the other rivals were presumably doing, so it wasn't my fault that they choose me. It indicated that if not my family, at least my former coworkers valued me and my job. Since I was looking out for myself, no one would make me feel guilty. In the past, they had disrespected my hard work and time at the company, and now they were having to pay the price, expecting me to be lenient, because we were family when they had never showed me love and respect was entitlement at its best. I informed them I was done talking to them and didn't want to work with them. They came because they demanded a response from me, and I delivered. This was all I had to say, and I no longer wanted to talk to them. Before my dad could say anything else, my sister cursed at me and told me that she knew from the start that trying to reason with me would be a terrible idea because I was a selfish monster and nothing could be done because this is who I am and always have been. She told our parents that everyone should go home since I can't be reasoned with and am too egoistic to talk to. She probably thought she was hitting me where it hurts and I'd feel awful about what she said. But I was pleased they were leaving. I could tell my parents were dissatisfied with this exchange, but it was their fault. After they left, my wife and I agreed to call the police the next time they showed up instead of interacting or ignoring them. I regret wasting time by going soft and opening the door to talk to them when my mom started crying. Not doing it would have saved me a lot of difficulty and drama. Whatever's done is done, I can't change anything. I suppose deep down, I needed to talk to them one last time to obtain closure. I'll keep working and hopefully won't see my family again. Update 4. 2 friends who know my nephew said the trial starts this week. 4 weeks have passed since my last update, and he's young, and this is his first crime, so I hope things go well, and he doesn't lose his future. However, I believe the ship has sailed. Anyway, I've been asked to testify, and I'll tell the truth without sugarcoating anything. Over the past 2 weeks, my parents have tried to reach me in numerous ways, but I've always blocked them. I no longer read their mail. I don't care what they text or email. I know it'll always be garbage. Problem is, I've moved on from my family situation. Right now I'm thinking about the future, when I'll work for myself without my family. So this is how it will stay. My business is stable, and we start next week in a great office location. This new phase in my life is amazing, and I can't wait. I spent 12 years working for people who didn't appreciate me, and I think things worked out because if they had made me the CEO, I wouldn't have left to start my own business. However, now that I'm creating my own business, I'm grateful that my parents named Jack as the CEO and gave him power instead of me. Anyway, I'm going back to work and won't make any updates for a few weeks because I'll be busy. Thanks for reading about my life, it means a lot. Update 5. Hello everybody. After almost 4 months, I was reading my prior updates a couple of hours ago and am so glad I took the decisions I did. Despite not being where I want to be, my company has developed and I'm doing well. Given that I've been self-employed for a few months, I think I'm doing great. So we can work together. My wife is considering quitting her job and joining mine. Perhaps I've never felt happy. I know many are curious about Jack's fate. I told the truth in court, and since he's young and this was his first infraction, they were lenient. A huge fine and several hours of community service sufficed. Many people I know think he should have been imprisoned for a few months. But I disagree. He's a youngster, stupid, and put in an unsuitable situation. Thus I think he regrets everything he did. No, it doesn't justify what he did, but I hope he learns from it and improves. I don't know what he's doing now that he's not working with my dad, but I know my dad is still trying to get back on his feet and working hard with the business. Trying to fix things at his retirement age will be difficult. However, I hope he has enough money to retire peacefully. Speaking of my dad, I recently discovered that I was right about my sister helping him name Jack CEO instead of me. His email arrived 2 weeks ago, but I designated it as spam and didn't open it. However, he sent my wife a series of emails, and she checked them and told me he had apologized for everything and wanted me as CEO. But my sister persuaded him to name her son to protect his future. He agreed, thinking my sister was always right, which was a mistake. She advised me to mentor her son instead of becoming CEO because her son had a business degree and I didn't. My parents trust my sister's word as much as the gospel. They did it, and I'm sure they regret it. I believe no business degree can replace 12 years of experience. However, the damage is done. I have my own firm and am doing well, so it worked out nicely for me. So I'm thankful for everything.